Welcome to the Alaska Realtor live stream. My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm an associate real estate broker in the state of Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family. And we are actually very lucky today to be joined by some friends of mine who recently moved up here to Alaska, and they're going to be telling you all about their experience of living up here in Alaska for nearly a year up to this point, and they'll talk about their experience of moving up here and just kind of their overall pros and cons from what it is that they see. So this is pretty valuable for you guys because you get to hear from someone other than just me, kind of talking about what it's like living here in the area. Before we get started, just kind of do some housekeeping. These live streams are only as good as the comments and questions that we get coming through here. So you have some really in-house experts here that can really talk about what it's like living up here in Alaska after having just moved up here a little bit ago. So if you have any questions, don't be shy. Go ahead and throw them in there. So Jacob, Rick, thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, sorry it's a little stressful getting you guys set up here, but we got it figured out.
Yes.
All right. So I guess go ahead and tell me about your Alaska journey experience then. What got you guys initially thinking about moving up here to Alaska?
Thinking about it, we were not meant for the city. We found that out. We enjoy the nature scene much more than congested streets and lots of people. So that kind of started it there.
So we just started throwing ideas out of where we wanted to move next to. And Jacob eventually, because I said I didn't want East Coast, I didn't want Midwest, I only wanted like basically West Coast somewhere, but it was just too busy. So Jacob threw out Alaska, and I used to live in Alaska, and I was super excited for that idea.
Yeah. And then it just went from there. We agreed on it. It was kind of shocking, but definitely went forward and took the steps pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We went the process pretty quickly.
Yeah. So which part of Alaska did you live in at first, or when you lived here before?
I lived in Anchorage. I was renting a room from someone because it was only supposed to be a seasonal job, and it just turned into more than a seasonal job.
Gotcha. Yeah. Once you've got kind of a unity on what it is that you guys want to do, I mean, you'd be surprised. A lot of big stuff can happen pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So the big city scene was just not for you guys, and just kind of looking for kind of a slower pace of life.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
And we also wanted to like have space around us, not so close to someone, and have our own garden and everything like that.
We didn't really know what we were going to get with making the decision to move here. We kind of just went for it anyways, not even knowing what the housing market was like at the time. But I guess, that's better than worrying about all the other things.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, a lot of people will really kind of analyze themselves to death and really kind of just paralyze themselves to the point where they're not willing to do anything.
Yeah.
I think you knew about 40-50% of everything, but that was enough. You kind of just took the leap, and that's kind of the mentality you have to have when you're looking at making a move up here to Alaska.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people that live here are just go-getters, and a lot of people are, that make the decision to move here kind of just go-getters for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, it only took us, I think, like 7-8 months from when we thought we wanted to move here to when we were actually walking through the front door of a house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that because I talked with a lot of people, and I was like, okay, we're going to make this happen, sure. And very few people actually follow through on it, but I mean, you guys were definitely the exception. So
yeah. we were just so excited. We were so excited to get out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I wasn't sure if you guys were going to want to talk to me really after the first time that we met, because I remember we met and then I got came down with COVID literally the day after we'd met.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no.
You guys went through the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, well, yeah, that was a bad case too. Like I was out for like 2.5 weeks, so I was like, they're not going to be pleased about this.
Well, understandable. Everyone got it.
Yeah. So was there like any one big event that kind of pushed you guys over that edge to making that leap, or is it just kind of something that just kind of slowly built up over time?
I think it wasn't a build up over time. We just kind of, that's the type of people we are. We make a decision and then we instantly just start going for it.
Like, we didn't have any regrets about the decision. We're like, well, we kind of.
You can always second guess everything that you do in life. So we're like, we're just going to pull the trigger and do it.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's the only way to actually make things happen.
Yeah, it was scary. Don't get us wrong, and we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into, but we're willing to take the risk.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and start working through some of the questions that I'm sure people are thinking to themselves. So, what were some of the big initial challenges for you guys with moving up here?
Getting our stuff up here. Just the stress thinking about there's multiple different ways. You can do a barge, you can do a truck, you can do it by plane. But like going over all the options, we're just like, they all cost relatively the same amount of money from where we lived in Los Angeles, which I want to say was between $4,000 and $5,000.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap.
Yeah. But just coming up with that decision of what actually to do.
What mattered to us the most and to keep and get rid of. And it was hard.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So which option did you guys end up going with? I remember Alcan, but I could be wrong.
We brought some stuff with us as we drove up here. And then some of like the bulkier or bigger items we ended up putting on a plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we didn't just bring some stuff. We stuffed that car every inch, couldn't see out of any window.
That checks out.
Yeah.
So how was getting through the border for you guys? Did you run into any issues as you were getting through customs?
No, we didn't run into any problems. We were a little bit confused because I'm not sure if they still have them right now, but it's like the COVID regulations of COVID tests. And we didn't understand it completely. We thought we had to get tested before we crossed the border, which you do, unless within the last year you had COVID, but you had proof of that you had COVID, then you could enter. And we did the COVID test at one of the telephone ones where they look at you, monitor you, do the whole test. And then we got there, they're like, oh no, you just need to give us the document saying that you had COVID. We're like, really? We like spent half our day trying to figure this out.
Yeah, how do you document that you had COVID? Like, is this like looking on like Facebook posts, or you just hope you did some kind of day in my life kind of a vlog on that day and you can talk about it? Or how do you document that?
I actually had the CVS test results that said positive. For whatever reason, I always screenshot everything like that on my phone, so I was able to find it.
Gotcha. Well, no, that totally makes sense then. So you guys were able to get through all right.
Yeah,
Yep, go ahead.
So I was just gonna say, they just ask you generic questions of, why you coming through and things like that. What's in your car? And we made a list of everything we had, made sure we had no food that you can't bring through the border and things like that.
And any type of guns, or because there's extra paperwork to bring certain types of guns through there. So, and you have to have that done beforehand. But it was pretty obvious we were moving. They just asked us a few questions and then we went on our way.
Yeah, but make a list for sure, because if they ask you what's in there and you don't know, they're going to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes they're not going to necessarily put everything back exactly the way they found it.
Exactly, yeah. That's what we were most afraid of, is them unpacking the whole entire car.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the time of year you guys were going through was closer to the winter time frame.
End of February. Yeah.
End of February. So what was that like?
Icy roads, cold conditions.
It It just gradually got worse as you made your way to the Yukon.
Yeah, there was parts of Canada that were really nice, pretty, and sunny with dry lands, and then there was some that had avalanches and icy roads.
Yeah, I mean, there was a certain part where it was probably a good like 50, 60 miles. We were having to drive like 30 miles per hour because it was just packed snow and then ice sitting on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
But we made it through.
Yeah. Were you guys running into a lot of wind while you were out there? Because, that's one thing I've experienced with driving that area during the wintertime.
No, not really any wind.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit, but
there was a few sections where it was a little windy, but nothing to cause us alarm.
Gotcha. And did you find like hotels you could stop in along the way, I'm assuming, or did you guys just kind of sleep in the back of the car?
We didn't plan on where we were going to stay, and half of the time we stayed at Airbnbs, and then
really?
It made it much more convenient because you don't have to actually drive to a town to stay somewhere. You can find a random house along the way.
And we had all our stuff packed in our car. We were afraid to stay in a city with all our belongings in the car. So we wanted to stay
somewhere safe
where we don't have to worry about like crime that much. And there was a lot of places that you could stay at that was actually very comfy.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have to worry about the check-in, check-out procedures either.
That is actually really smart for a couple of reasons. But number one is because everyone I've talked to, it's so difficult as an American right now, at least during COVID, to get in and get into hotels and motels, just with all the requirements. But if it's an Airbnb, then it sounds like it was completely different experience.
And it worked well because of the hours we were coming and going. And a lot of the Airbnb, because of the time we went, the tourism isn't high. So if we needed like an extra hour or something, most times a lot of the hosts just gave us the extra hour.
Got it. Man, that's really smart. And
it ended up being cheaper in some cases compared to hotels too.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, you guys just blew my mind. I've not even thought about Airbnbs out there. So,
well, as soon as you got like further up in Canada,
it was a little harder.
We stayed at 2 motels during our time going through the rest of Canada because the population wasn't that great and there really wasn't Airbnbs anymore.
Yeah.
Did you guys run into any issues with gas stations not being open, or was everything pretty much operating as advertised?
I said half of it was operating.
Yeah. There is a certain part, I don't remember exactly, but it's pretty high, like as you're going in and out of the Yukon.
Almost before you get to Toe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You lose service, and there's basically every place that said that was open for gas wasn't in this stretch. And we had a Subaru Outback, and luckily it could go 500 miles without fueling up. So we felt lucky there because our goal was every time we passed a gas station, we're always going to fill up no matter what.
Yeah, and that's pretty smart. I mean, there's just so many opportunities for gas stations to not be where they're actually supposed to be in Canada, or at least open.
Yeah.
Where they're supposed to be open during the wintertime. Did you guys have any issues with tires going out? Because every time I've driven the Alcan, I've had tires blow out on me, but that has not been everyone's experience.
Fortunately, no, we didn't have any blowouts on tires.
Yeah.
Did well.
Yeah. We were going to grab a U-Haul, but then we started thinking about road conditions with a U-Haul would not be good.
And it's pretty top heavy, and if you can avoid it, great. If you can't, it's not the end of the world, but it can definitely get a little sketchy out there sometimes if you're driving a U-Haul through the Alcan in the wintertime.
Yeah, especially right before you get to the border. That's when the whole pavement is totally messed up.
and that's really the thing that doesn't get enough attention. Like for the most part, like it's the Canadian part is actually pretty well maintained. It's once you start getting closer to the U.S. that everything is not as bueno at that point.
Yeah, and you can tell when it switches over from U.S. to Canada.
Yeah, it's pretty pronounced.
Mhm.
So for people who are watching then, so do you have any tips you would offer to people moving along the Alcan?
I would suggest if you're driving with people, figure out who's going to sleep, who's going to drive, and at what time, because it's exhausting and it's a hard drive to
Yeah.
sit there for days.
Well, because we also had the drive from Los Angeles first, and that was like 3.5, 4 days just to get to the border
Mhm.
because we didn't rush it. It's just like every time it got dark outside, we would start our options for where we want to sleep that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a lot of driving. Did you guys ever calculate and figure out how far you guys drove and all?
I don't remember.
I have it written somewhere. I don't remember.
I don't remember. It's in the thousands.
Yeah. It was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're driving all day. Like I think the longest move I've ever done before, I think it was the move from Texas to Alaska. That was that was a pretty long move, and it felt more like a migration because I mean I was moving with the family. I was a kid, and I mean we kind of just took the entire summer stopping and visiting with people, so it felt more like a migration more so than just like one big push all the way through.
And it's a weird feeling, just that day of leaving and looking back, and you're never coming back.
Yeah.
It's a weird feeling.
Yeah, would you say it's like a liberating feeling, or is it kind of just like a disorienting kind of a thing?
It's almost disorienting. Yeah.
It's just you're just altering the majority aspects of your life.
You're making yourself so vulnerable by not being in a comfortable, safe place anymore. You're kind of just going. Not looking back.
I think that's the first time I've ever heard anyone refer to LA as kind of a comfortable, safe place.
Well, as far as home, your bed.
Predictable.
Where your bed used to sit.
Yeah, maybe that's a good point. Okay, so you guys got up here. What was the temperature like? Because when you go through the Alcan, I mean, you're closer to like Fairbanks and everything once you get up there. So how cold was that when you guys came through?
It was single digits for sure.
It got into the negatives a few times.
Yeah, when we got into Toke was so much snow and there was so many animals. It was probably one of the coolest looking things to drive through because that's almost like the first town you get through right there. And you're just like, wow, you're here. And then you just, there's elk that got hit or something. And there's two of them running towards us on the highway. And it looked like they were running away. And then when they went right by the car and the one side was just all gashed and everything. So he got hit by a car. So we saw bison, elk. I think we saw a wolf. Yeah. It was either a wolf or coyote.
Man, you guys got really the red carpet treatment the first right from the bat you guys got here.
Yeah, because that day, the last day that we spent the night in Canada, that was going to bring us all the way down to over to Wasilla. We had to leave super early because we knew the snowstorm was going to hit Toke. And so when we got there, we didn't even get there at the worst, but it was already probably close to like a foot of snow already on the ground. Yeah. And we were really concerned being able to even get through that area with our car like completely weighed down.
Were they pretty good about kind of plowing the roads and getting the snow out of there, even with a foot of snow falling?
Didn't see any flash.
Yeah, didn't see anything at that time.
No, just an avalanche along the way. Didn't see the avalanche fall, but they were cleaning it up.
Yeah, they were almost done with cleaning it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's, I mean, I've been up near Fairbanks. I mean, even just recently, I didn't really think of it as kind of a mountainous area, which is weird to say that because, I mean, it does have Denali, it's closer than not. But I've always kind of thought of Fairbanks as kind of just being this really wide open, area of the interior where you don't have a whole lot of mountains. But I drove up there recently and I was like, oh yeah, there's actually quite a bit of mountain driving here.
That's good to know because we're driving there in 2 days.
Yeah, I know that you're in for a treat. Are you guys just checking out the hot springs, or what are you guys doing out
Yeah,
there?
the Body of the Hot Springs, and then they're
The International Ice Sculpture Show is happening right now up there too.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Now, is that different from the one that they have down here? Like, is there like a, do you know if there's like a hierarchy of like ice sculptures?
I want to
We've
say
heard
it's
it's way better than down here. Yeah, it's more because are you talking about the one in Anchorage that's underneath the bridge right there?
Yeah, yeah. I think that was part of Furundi, which was last week. For those
Yeah,
who
we
are
went.
listening, like Furundi, it's here in Anchorage, and it's like a 4 or 5 day kind of a deal, and it's just a lot of fun activities you do to work up in celebration for the start of the Iditarod.
Mhm.
And part of that is they have like this ice sculpture contest down there.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, this one is supposed to be like international in Fairbanks. It's supposed to be like considered like one of the best ice sculpturing shows, I think. I could be wrong on that, but a lot of people around here rant and rave about it, that's for sure.
Okay, well, you sold me.
Yeah, I would definitely look it up. It's pretty cool looking because they do it at night a lot, and it's in the trees, and
With all the
they're all spread out, and they're all lit up with different colors and everything. It's a pretty big thing.
Yeah, I'll have to go check it out. Like I would really hope that like all the sculptures would do something different every year.
Yeah.
Is that it? That'd be a little lame if you go drive all the way there and it's like, oh look, it's the same bear, or
Yeah.
you know, like 50 different versions of a moose or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that kind of makes me think. I've helped helped a friend of mine move up, Paulo, and he's actually like an artist, a sculptor, runs a tattoo studio and everything. I'm gonna have to like put a bug in his ear and see if I can talk him into going down and doing the ice sculpture thing. But he primarily works with marble. I'm pretty sure ice and marble is about the same.
That seems pretty close.
Yeah, same. All right. So for those of you in the comment section, if you have any questions about moving along the Alcan, or kind of what the experience is like with that, I mean, certainly feel free to drop a note in there. Don't be shy. You've got a couple of experts right here. They're ready to answer the questions for you who have recently moved up here. So let's go and talk a little bit about the housing situation, kind of looking into Wasilla. Was there anything about the housing up here that kind of surprised you guys when you first got here?
They go quickly. They go very quickly if it's a good house.
Yeah.
And you can find that out from houses that have been on there for like 120 days. It looks nice, but the inside and the guts are not. So it's a very tricky market out here.
Yeah, there's always a catch if it's been on the market for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, or why the house, like some of them ran into, the house looked like beautiful and it was like the perfect house. And then we're like, why is it so cheap? And then we like asked you, and then you looked into it and basically like, oh, that well is pretty much like dead. So like,
yeah,
and things like that, or it could be like different things that you don't necessarily see.
Yeah. And it's like they don't have 40,000 for a new well. If there's anything if the land's not dried up.
Yeah, and then it's stuff like, well, it's too swampy, so like the ground won't actually like hold any, like you can't put a septic system in there because the ground's too boggy. My personal favorite is when it's like right up against like a super busy road.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
Well, one of the other differences that we noticed was there was a lot more like cheaper houses available. Not saying that they were great houses, but it was more houses that I wasn't expecting to see on the listings for like 350,000 or less. And that was like the tricky part for us because our budget was low. So we wanted to find a decent house, for that good price. And everywhere else we were looking, like you didn't see as many options as we saw here. Now that could be different because the market was so different. I don't know, but
we did also buy in winter time. So I noticed in wintertime compared to summer, you're very slim pickings.
Yeah, and here's kind of the balance and the compromise you make. If you're looking during the summertime, there's going to be more options. You also have a lot more competition though, because everybody wants to buy and sell during that time. And during the winter months, I mean, there's going to be less options, but you have less competition. Lately, it's hardly mattered. You know, we've starting to see like kind of a slowing down. It feels like, even though the prices are continuing to go up, which, you know, I'll have the market updates like uploaded in a couple of days here. We'll be publishing those over the course of the month and taking a deep dive into it. But yeah, it's a weird market because you have in the Matsu Valley, you've got more options, less of them selling, and the average like sold price per square foot is still continuing to just march up and up and up. So it's a weird market. You guys bought it at a good time.
yeah,
Yeah. I wish you would have bought sooner.
yeah.
That's how it works. People always ask about timing. It's like, well, 20 years ago you should have bought, and you should hold on to it for another 20 years. That's
exactly.
That's kind of the timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a great scenario that you guys were able to walk into though. So what happened? You guys, well, I'll let you go ahead and tell it real quick. So with y'all's house, how did all that shake out?
Well, we flew here to look at 3 houses that we were not the most excited to look at, but it was our only options at the time. We were trying to kind of close our window at this point.
And we already booked the flight, so we had to see something while we were here. So we chose these 3 houses that were not the best. One of them, I think, for some reason, you said we were unable to see, so then we were only down to 2. And we looked at them and we're like, no, this is not for us. And then you came to us and said, well, there's one more house. It hasn't hit the market yet. If you would like to see it, we can. And you sent us a link to it. I remember that. And it's a house that we were actually looking at before back in November, but it got bought before we could actually we've gone through all the process to actually start putting offers in. So then we just came to this one. We absolutely loved it. And we put an offer in that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just the timing of all that, just it was insanely like just well timed the way everything worked. Because yeah, I do remember you guys liked that property, weren't quite ready to go just yet. One of my clients, you know, were hot to trot on that one, so you know they went and bought that one, and then they turned around and needed to move like 3-4 months later. And yeah, what a crazy market we were in, where they were able to sell, and you know, they didn't take any kind of real ding from it. So that's incredible, first off. But yeah, just the timing of everything was just insane. Like,
we're so happy.
I tell people all the time that is, I'll explain that to newer agents. It's like, yeah, that is not normal though. That doesn't happen. Don't expect that to ever happen.
Yeah. And we spent so much of our time looking online for homes every day, just constantly seeing if something new would pop up every day. And it's tiring. It's exhausting, because then you're like, well, now it's gone. And it's like, I should have gotten it. I should have not. But, you know, stressful.
Yeah. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. All right. So let me read off a couple comments real quick here. Coming in from Oliver: hostels are cheap, but watch your 6. Have you guys ever stayed at a hostel before?
I have. If you want personal space, of course, that's not the route to go. But if you literally just want to like fall asleep for 6-8 hours and then get up and then head back out onto the road, I guess hostels are good. But not at this point, because it's sometimes can get sketchy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also kind of your stage of life too. Like I probably would have been up for that at one time in my life, but at this point, it's like, no, I'm not sharing this. It
Yeah.
feels almost like a prison where I'm having to like check stuff out at a certain time. And yeah, I've got some stories from hostels in London, so we'll save that for another live stream. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of hostels. Different phase of my life, I'm sure I'd be willing to, but now I'm kind of an old curmudgeon, and I got to have my personal space.
Yeah. It'd be different if we were traveling, maybe, but we were moving, so it was just wasn't gonna work.
Right. So, quick comment from Paul Knight, planning to move there, to move this time next year. Awesome. Well, Paul, it's a great time to move up here. I was talking with Sean and Erica before on a podcast. I helped them move up here as well, and they actually said one of the best times of year for them to move was actually during the winter time, because, and I mean, I'll let you guys decide if this checks out, but you can actually focus on just moving during the winter time, and then during the summertime you get to actually enjoy it instead of stressing out about the move.
That's very true. And a lot less people on the road.
You can't downplay that.
No construction. They're done for the winter, and it was great.
Oh yeah, I mean, then also you're not weaving in and out of all the tourists that are coming.
Yeah, exactly. Just truck drivers, and they were all nice.
Yeah, I can't really meet a whole lot of truck drivers that are, trying to be obnoxious out there.
Yeah, just in the movies.
All right, got another comment here from Mr. Oliver Wright. Carry at least an extra tank of gas in case you run out. Watch out for wildlife. Enjoy the drive-through. British Columbia. Stop by Hot Springs in Fairbanks, Alaska, and watch the Northern Lights. So, cannot agree more.
Yeah.
All right, now for the questions I'm sure everyone wants to know now. Now that you've lived up here for a while, is kind of Alaska and area over in Wasilla about what you guys expected when you moved up here? Or have you had a lot of surprises, substantial surprises along the way?
I feel like, I don't
Like, was it the one thing that we didn't think is, a lot of people think of Alaska. A lot of people think of like being buried in snow and all this, even though we did get a lot of, like, from what we heard, we got a lot of snow this year compared to like the past 20 years, if not more. And it's still not that bad. It's really not what you imagine of Alaska, like all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it caused me to call it a work, but just for one day, and that was it. I went back the next day once they plowed.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, honestly, this winter has been like one of the most. It's been pretty brutal. It's been a bit of a meat grinder this particular winter. So that's pretty telling that you guys are coming up here, kind of the first full winter from start to finish, and to hear you say that's a good sign.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of stores up here compared to where we came from. And I was like, well, where are we going to find everything? But it's actually very doable. We realized that you could be very much minimalist up here. Like, you know what? We really don't need to go to the store today. We don't really need to go to town and just waste money on things that we don't need.
Because we have a lot of our stuff canned here, so we have enough food. We always make sure we have the pantry stocked, though, for a rare occurrence that we couldn't get on the road.
Yeah, sounds like you guys are really kind of acclimating to the Alaska lifestyle. You're canning, you got all your stuff stockpiled.
Yeah.
Just really kind of embracing the entire thing.
Yeah. Well, the temperatures really aren't that bad, even though we've had quite a few times where it got into like the negatives. I don't know. To me, it still doesn't feel that bad when you go outside with a nice jacket. It doesn't even bother us at all.
Yeah. Well, it bothers me.
Well, because you're running and doing a 20 miles in the mountains on a Saturday morning. I'm sure you are cold up there.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I mean, I think the coldest I ran in this year, I think it was like -20,
Wow.
like one morning. I mean, that's like so cold. I mean, I've got my running gear and everything, but you just step outside, and whether you've got like that shell outer layer up or not, like
Yeah.
you can still like feel it like crunching and like instantly freezing. Like your sinuses are getting all frozen instantly, and like it never freezes your lungs, but it does like dry them out like instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, actually, I didn't think Alaska was as beautiful as the year went by. I mean, all this winter is just beautiful, the whole white blanket, and then summertime, and just didn't imagine how beautiful it actually looked.
Yeah, it's pretty breathtaking. So,
Mhm.
what all have you had a chance to go and visit so far? Obviously, Fairbanks, but where else have you guys gone in and visited?
We've actually kind of just stayed south. We went to Girdwood. We went to
Seward.
Seward. We went to Whitewood? No,
No.
Whittier.
Yeah, we did places that we could drive to easily, and not have to worry about buying a plane ticket or a ferry ticket somewhere so far.
Yeah,
Those are our next adventures that we're gonna do. But right now we've just kept it to this part of Alaska, really.
barely touched it.
One summer we decided to try to visit as many glaciers in one day as possible. And we got like 4 down, like on our way to Seward. So Exit Glacier, Seward Glacier, and things like that.
Yeah, I've never heard of the Glacier Challenge before, so
It's a fun one.
oh, that's awesome. So once you guys, let's say you can like fly, take the ferry, all that. What places would you want to go visit at that point?
Definitely want to make it up to Nome for the experience. Just to say we've been up there up to the tip top and did that. We really want to get into hunting this year, so we'll see what direction that will take us.
Yeah. But we also want to go to, there's so many islands that you can actually go to,
Mhm.
but we really, it's all about saving up our money right now from buying the house.
Yeah.
We don't have that much money to spend on just like buying a plane ticket somewhere right now, but we are definitely in the near future we're going to do it.
Got it. Well, if you guys get the chance, I mean, definitely swing over to Kodiak. It's
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. The big thing there is if it's not in season, just don't go there for an entire week.
Yeah.
Because yeah, without the kayaking and all the regular activities and stuff there, it can get a little claustrophobic after about day 3 or 4.
Oh my.
But all right, outstanding. All right, let me answer this question real quick. So from Steve K, Jamin, what do you wear to run in -20? Do you sweat? And if so, does it freeze? Good question. Once I'm looking at layering, I'm looking at really just a rain jacket I have over the top. I have kind of a sweater. I've got a regular shirt, and then I've got a base layer under that, which is usually some kind of smart wool. And that usually will keep me pretty warm when I'm out there. And I usually have like two layers of it's not sweatpants. What is it? We'll just call them like yoga pants. It's pretty much what they are. And have like some really warm socks. And that's usually does a pretty good job on keeping me warm. Usually I might sweat a little bit, but I mean, I try to throttle back the pace a little bit during the wintertime, just because, I mean, once you start sweating really bad, you're going to get chilled super fast. So I try not to do a whole lot of intense speed work during the wintertime for that reason. Now I do have it's called I think it's the Crazy Lazy mountain race. It's going to be coming up not this weekend, but next weekend. Not this weekend, but the weekend after that. And that is like a race that's like a 3,000-foot climb up the side of a mountain. And I did it just yesterday. And it is honestly so steep that you know how you like start climbing a ladder and you start getting a little concerned. It's about that feeling. Like it is so steep up there. And yeah, just like profusely like sweating like I've not done in like months, just because it's something else getting up there. But yeah, usually I don't sweat too much during the winter time if I can avoid it. So good question. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this then. So from your perspective, what are some of the pros and cons you guys have noticed from your time up here so far?
Pros and cons.
Yeah, so a pro would be I definitely felt like life has slowed down a lot.
In a sense.
In a sense. We were able to start our garden. But for Alaska specifically, I just want to say it's just like a feeling every day, like when you're driving. We always see mountains in our views no matter where we're driving. And it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, we always say, thank God we made the decision to move here. Like, thank God we did. We always say it all the time. Like, I'm so happy to live here. It just feels so good and freeing. Yeah.
So another pro, I'm trying to think, like, I don't know, you actually get weather up here. We love extreme weather. And we came from Los Angeles. And so weather really doesn't happen up there. So we actually love when there's snow in the forecast.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the cons would be you have to drive further to go to a grocery store for sure. Things aren't as accessible in like the stores. They sell out of things quite a bit, and then that item just stays empty. That spot on the shelf just stays empty for months until they can get their next shipment up. So Amazon is always the solution to that problem. I'm trying to think of like, do you have anything?
Cons, I would say food in general that is served here.
Oh, restaurants.
Your restaurants. And you're just better off cooking at home and making something you know you're gonna like and enjoy. Because you're disappointed once you spend $25 and you're just like, I could have made that at home.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. The culinary scene really leaves something to be desired for the most part up here.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, there's nice pubs and, fun places to eat and more entertainment. I would go out for more of the entertainment part than the food itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, even just, 3 days ago or so, I was down in Texas in Austin for a wedding. And I was like, man, you guys have no idea like how awesome your culinary scene and live entertainment is up here. You just don't really get that in Alaska. I mean, we've got Schwabenhof, so that's nice. Four Corners, if we're looking in Wasilla. I think they've got some stuff in the Palmer Matsu Ale House, so that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of few and far between.
Yeah. If you love karaoke, this is the state for you, because I think they have karaoke pretty much every night in every bar.
Yeah, there you go. So do you guys have any other cons you would add to that list?
You have to work a little bit harder to live up here in general, just from the aspect of every day to day. It may not be like that so much in Anchorage, like if you're living in like the city life, but like where we live, keeping our driveway clear of the snow, making sure, because at one point the snow was stacking up on our roof and it got to pretty close to the limit of what they say a roof can hold. So we had to work hard to get the snow off of there.
Definitely lost power a few times this winter.
Yep, and you just have to be prepared for that all the time.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So yeah, the power has gone out on you guys a couple of times, and that's something that kind of depends where you're from as to whether or not it's a big deal. Some parts of the country, just blackouts are just, it's just a normal Tuesday. Other people, like it's like the end of the world. If you're in a cold environment, it's a little more on the serious side if you're talking about extreme weather. So how did it go when y'all's power went out, and what did you do about it?
When it went out, it's definitely nerve-wracking. We just waited it out as long as we could. I mean, we have some backup heaters and things like that, but you kind of just, you just don't open your fridge, don't open your doors.
Well, even then, you can just throw your food outside.
Yeah.
During the wintertime.
Yeah.
You won't have food spoilage, that's for sure. But if the temperature really dropped like too low in our house, we had the kerosene heater that we would bring in, and we would just start that up. But the power companies have been really good about the blackouts here. Like,
I think the most was like 5 hours.
Yeah, the most was 5 hours, but most of them was a half an hour to an hour when they restored the power. It's always been really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys did mention you did something even with them getting the power back on, relatively quickly, and just kind of hedging your bet. So what did you guys do to do that?
Just water and.
Yeah, I mean, we take precautions and everything. No,
Yeah. I think you guys mentioned you got like a furnace or like some kind of a generator.
It looks like a huge, heavy lantern, but it's actually, it's like the same shape of a lantern, but it's really big and it's all metal. And it has a huge wick in the middle. You put the kerosene at the bottom, and it's portable. And it's the kerosene that we use is like K1. They say it's indoor safe. But you always want to have some alarms in your house no matter what.
Yeah, no, 100%. So got a quick question here from Big Game Alaska Someday. When do you feel that winter starts and ends?
I feel like winter starts when you don't see the sun as much. The sun does, we only get a few hours of light in the day already, but when it's cloudy a lot, now that it's warming up, it was 39 today. It's been sunny for the past 3 days. So I kind of feel like winter's ending. So probably just the clouds. And
so around October or so, end of October, it seems to be the trend where the temperatures really just start dropping. At least it did it this year. And we're always looking at like the Weather Channel, looking at the history. And it seems always relatively around the end of October is like when like the true winter starts, where things won't grow, like your garden's dead and things like that. And the beginning or the end of winter would be more along the lines around this time, like maybe May's the last frost date. So it's when the snow disappears, really, in my opinion, because the snow sticks around when the temperatures are so high still. Even like, I remember last year was like 50 and we still had snow, like at least a foot of snow on our property still.
Yeah. I mean,
that's just our experience. I mean,
it's yeah, I think that's going to be pretty kind of sums it up for everybody. I mean, unfortunately, the way this is going to shake out 9 times out of 10, we're probably, it's melting off right now. We probably have another month and a half, 2 months worth of winter before it's just done. We're probably going to have like 1 or 2 more good like snow dumps before it's done. And this happens every year, and every year it's just a soul crusher, and everybody just can't believe that it happened. And it's like, guys, literally every year this happens.
Yeah, definitely last year we noticed in May, because it was our birthdays, and I remember we got that last frost right around our birthday towards the end of May. And then it never went back down to 32 again. And we're like, yeah, summer's officially here.
Oh, my word. That is like the best feeling ever once we've like turned the corner, and I mean it's not going back the other way.
Yeah.
All right, let's go and read this question real quick from Taj Connor. Is there a big difference in cost from wood stoves compared to the other alternatives heat source? What do you guys think?
We've done a little bit of research on this because we've wanted a wood burning stove for sure. House didn't come with one, and we have in-floor heating. And I would say in December, our bill got was
190
$190
for the that was electric, because we have also a wall-mounted water heater.
So it runs that way. And we looked at wood stoves, and it really depends how well your house is insulated. And if you have wind draft and if you have things like that. But
we've been waiting on wood stove for a little bit because of the cost of initially getting it started. To buy ones like between 1,000 and like 1,800
for the size of our home.
Then you have to order the wood, and you have to do that so far in advance, because usually I think the closest date most of the time is like a month for them to get like wood out to you. So
yeah, I mean, so I would say you probably never want to be 100% dependent on just one fuel source if you're out here. And the reason for that is, you do have some blackouts every now and then, and just having something as a backup, even if it's just a couple hours, is going to give you a lot of peace of mind. If you're looking for the most efficient, like the in-floor radiant heating is probably going to be the best. That being said, though, if you have a wood stove, which I've got a wood stove, it's awesome. Had it installed just a little bit ago. And I mean, there was zero. I was looking forward to the power going out, honestly. It was like, man, I wish it would. I wish it would. But the thing that also kind of made that make sense for me is I've got like a lot of trees that was on my lot that needed to be cut down anyway. And so essentially for the cost of and time it took for me to like cut these down and get them, chopped up and everything, I got some wood from that. But if you're going and buying cords of wood, usually it's going to be cheaper to just go with the gas. But if you can do a combination of the two, like do some wood burning and then do primarily, the in-floor heating or forced air or whatever, then that's probably going to be a great way to do it. And you kind of get a little variety in there. But, sometimes that's just not the option everybody has.
Yeah, if you can get the trees off of your property and burn your own trees, then it's a no-brainer to go that way for sure.
Yeah, no, if you can get in good with a builder, and they're going to be leveling some trees and having them removed and all that anyway, they'll let you go in and like haul some of that stuff off. Like that's kind of the dream.
Yeah. But also about the wood stoves is we wanted, like how you were saying, a backup in case the power goes out or anything like that. But just it's not so much the money that matters in that sense. It's more about just having that heat, for essential for life. And you don't want to bust your pipes and everything like that. So a wood burning stove won't fail you. And that's kind of the nice thing about it.
Yeah, no, it won't. Now, what will happen, though, is you like using it so much, you literally burn through all of your wood. And, it's all gone by the time you actually need it for the power going out. That's the stage I'm at. We're late in the winter time. I started way too early, aggressively burning every night. I think it was like October, and I was like having fires like nearly every night. It's like in retrospect, I'm really not pleased with past Jamin.
Well, it's all about the ambiance.
Yeah. So I mean, something to be said for that.
There you go.
All right, got a quick thought from Blessed Thistle Farmstead. In-floor heating is the best. You should invest And in a wood boiler, it's expensive, but you keep the dirt and ash outside. Also might be rebates for it. Federal does 27%. Okay. Also from Blessed Thistle Farmstead, how much snow do you have on the ground? How much snow do you guys have over in your place now?
We probably have like 2 feet.
Yeah, it's been condensing down since the days have been getting warmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really starting to look at, and this might be overprotective, but I'm actually thinking about just taking my my snow shovel out there and clearing all the snow away from the sides of my house for like solid 10 to 20 feet, like away from the side of the building.
Yeah, we were doing that, and then the snow. We have a metal roof, so our snow probably fell off the roof like 4 times throughout the whole season. So on the last 2, we didn't catch up to it quick enough, and it basically became a block of ice. So it's sitting probably about 5 feet away from the house, if that counts at all.
I mean, we were doing good for a long time keeping snow away from our house. Just because when we first moved into our house, they weren't living in the house for a little bit. So all the snow that fell off the roof and onto the side, like we couldn't even open up the front door and everything, like the snow just became an ice cube. So this year we just thought it would be nice just to actually have space between our house and the snow. So we're almost 10 feet by our front door. On the other side of our house, it's like 5 feet.
Yeah. And we had flooding issues last fall from all the rain we got. And we're probably going to have flooding issues again. So we're actually on vacation for the next week. So we're definitely going to go down there and resolve those issues and fix the vapor barrier and all that stuff down there.
Yep. Yep. And that's, for you guys, I think that's probably going to be almost a must every year. Because, I mean, you guys have the vapor barrier fixed. You've got the sump pump down there. But for those of you who maybe haven't been in one of these climates before, what happens during breakup when all the snow melts is the snow the snow melts. It goes down into the ground. It doesn't just go away, though. So most houses in Alaska have a crawl space. And usually it's pretty normal during the breakup that water from the snow is going to get into the crawl space. And the purpose of that vapor barrier, like a piece of plastic really that lays across the floor, is to make sure that moisture in that water stays down. But, for some crawl spaces, they're more prone to getting more water in them. So you kind of have to just know your property and know how much you need to keep the snow away from it.
Yeah.
So outstanding. So we've got the questions here. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like they got about 3 feet of snow over in Maine. That's awesome. From RH, Alaska is too close to Russia.
Well, we have a lot of military here. So are we close enough?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, our military presence is actually pretty high. I've resisted the urge to kind of weigh in too much on the capabilities here in this area and how we're set up strategically and everything, because again, I don't want to end up in a rushing briefing room somewhere. But yeah, we're actually sitting pretty good right now. If Russia's having an issue with rolling up Ukraine, that's right on their doorstep, they're not going to be able to show up in Alaska and cause any trouble anytime soon. The Bering Sea is not to be messed with. All right, from Friar That Baby Fur, what are apartments like in Alaska? So Rick, you've kind of lived in Anchorage before, so would you like to take this one?
From what I've lived, they're not the greatest. Like, we don't actually, like, out here, I think we've seen like a couple apartment complexes, but they're not, I feel like, not saying there is, I feel like there's not many apartments here in Wasilla though. And they don't, I don't know, they just look like they built a building right there and called it an apartment complex. They just don't look like the most glamorous. But there's always high end in a market somewhere though.
Yeah, there is. I mean, it's kind of funny. I've seen actually more of these luxury apartments, like actually further north, closer to like the Meadow Lakes and like Big Lake area. I've seen like more luxury apartments popping up in that area recently.
I see a lot of, I guess you would call them tiny homes. So like a builder will take this property that's like 3 acres and then put like 8 small, I guess, affordable housing on this land, and they'll put them all in a circle, so you kind of get your own little space, but you're not an apartment, but you're close to somebody. So it's kind of nice that way if you're looking for, a good budget.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got mixed emotions about those. So what they do is they finance it as a fourplex, and they just put like those 4 tiny, like 1,000 square foot houses, buildings on the property. I don't know. I kind of have mixed emotions about them because on one hand, I love the privacy and everyone kind of gets their sense of autonomy, but also, yeah, it's interesting because you also have the thought, at least in the back of my head, how are they doing the well water? How are they keeping the septic system for all of them separate? Is it all the same septic tank and leach field that they're all going to?
From what I've heard, a lot of them are wrapped in together. So if you're the last on the water line, you're the last one with the most pressure.
That's just going to have to be your lot in life. All right, you guys are heating up in the comment section now. So from Mr. Costa, 16 Auto, do you feel any safety issues living in Wasilla, crime, neighborhood issues, car and property vandalism? And you guys can actually talk about this. So go take it away.
We feel completely safe where we live.
Mm-hmm.
It was a moment of just like you move to a new area, you're uncertain about the area, and you're always kind of like on high alert. But at times, like we've never had issues with like even like when it comes to conflicting personalities, something like that, because we don't really see our neighbors. We've only met the one who lives like a little bit above us, and everyone just kind of keeps to themselves around here. I really haven't seen any car or property damage that I can hear. We look on the app that has like all the police activity, and a lot of stuff is kind of like
domestic violence.
And there's been like a few thefts of. It was reported that a whole boat on its trailer got stolen, but
that's a pretty big ticket item to just go missing.
Yeah. But there hasn't been anything for like safety wise of making me feel unsafe. I've never felt that here.
Yeah. All right. Give me just a second. I need to swap out the battery here, but yeah, let's go and do this real quick. I've got another question from RH. So how much for 50 acres in Alaska? I'll let you guys talk about that. Give me like 30 seconds. Okay.
That depends where you want that 50 acres. If you want it in, outside of Wasilla limits, that has to be
that has to still be a lot. Yeah.
It really just depends of, can you only boat there? Does it have road access? Can you only, winter travels when the lake's frozen to get there? So I had no idea how much 50 acres would cost because it's so diverse here. You can be on the water, you can be on a lake, you can be on a river, and it really makes a difference.
Ow.
I feel like Jamin would know that answer.
Wait, what's up?
Oh, about how much 50 acres would cost.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I kind of just threw that one at you guys, but it kind of depends. It kind of depends on where you are and specifically what you're wanting to do with the property, what the zoning is. If you're looking at just going literally in the middle of nowhere that's actually off grid, like really truly off grid, where you can only get there by flying in or taking the snow machine in during the wintertime. It's going to be pretty affordable. I've actually seen like a property that had like a small cabin on it with like 40 acres for like $240,000. And, not too far away. But yeah, the catch was you can only access it by plane or by snow machining in the wintertime. So, I mean, it all comes down to where it's at. And I've also seen other properties where it's like 1 or 2 acres for like $100,000. So it's just all over the map, and how much it is that you're willing to just jump into it and pretty much, really and truly live off grid. And by that, I mean like actually live off grid, not just live somewhat remotely.
Yeah.
All right, good deal. That is a good one. So coming in from Costa 16 Auto, Palmer versus Wasilla for a family of 4. We are going controversial here. So what do you guys think?
I feel like Palmer is definitely more. It's more feel like family oriented. I don't know. I just feel
Palmer's better to go visit or to live in. But the problem with Palmer is it's really hard to get a house over there.
Yeah, never
unless
any options.
Unless you want to spend like it kind of felt like to us a lot of money. You could possibly get into Palmer, but I feel like Palmer goes very quickly, and not many houses even go up for sale.
It's like a historic town. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's historic for the state in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. A lot of my family lives in Palmer, and I mean, they're not rolling it. They're like not millionaires. They're not, anything like that. But I mean, they live comfortably. They have like 3 or 4 kids, and I mean, they really enjoy the area that they're in. It's not a particularly easy market to get into, though, because Palmer is trying to be a small town, and Wasilla is trying to grow. So you have these two like living right next to each other, and Palmer is trying to do that, and you're going to see this happen very quickly, where affordability for housing in that area is going to become more and more expensive. And you're going to have people complaining about it nonstop. And then when you say, well, the only way we take care of that is by building more houses. Well, we don't want to build any more houses. Well, they can't have it both ways. Like, got to make a decision. I mean, it's kind of the same thing that's happening in Eagle River right now. They're wanting to go and put in some new subdivisions, and people are all in an uproar. And it's like, well, and people literally showing up at the community council meetings, like complaining and saying, well, Seward is like, it's such an expensive place to live. And, I totally agree. There needs to be more housing, but I don't want them to put in more housing. It's like, you gotta pick a side here, guys. Like,
yeah.
All right. So yeah, if you guys are just looking for kind of small town vibe, Palmer, definitely. If you're looking for more affordable housing options, then I would definitely take a closer look at Wasilla, but it kind of depends what you guys are into. Palmer does get a lot more wind.
Oh, a lot more.
A lot more wind, I've noticed. Like I've gotten, shook a couple times this winter. The wind in Wasilla, it hasn't been like on the regular, like what it is over in Palmer.
Yeah. It's pretty treacherous. Those 2 storms we had this winter, I mean, it knocked some things down for sure.
Oh, absolutely. All right, question coming in from Mr. Caden. Maybe an odd question, but is there much point in having a street motorcycle in Anchorage? Is the riding season too short? Are they common?
I would just say no, because the drivers, it's the other people.
Yep. I mean, I really can't. Yeah, I really can't second guess that. I mean, we have a fairly decent motorcycle community here, And I mean, you can see them all over the place during the summertime. Motorcycling during the winter is not as popular.
I don't think I saw one this winter.
Yeah, I don't think I saw a single one. Not surprisingly, like negative, like what, 50 with wind chill.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can see the appeal of it during the wintertime, but yeah, it'd be scary driving on the roads here in Anchorage during the wintertime, and especially if you're looking at doing some long distance stuff, because then you're out there with a lot of tourists who are driving, and a lot of them are probably driving like the mini winnies and they may or may not be experienced in driving a large trailer. So yeah,
it's true.
No one
I still feel like the riding season would be a pretty good riding season still.
Yeah.
Like you would still, I mean, at least 4 months.
Yeah, I mean, you get a decent enough riding season, but yeah, it's going to be a little it's going to be kind of short compared to other places.
Yeah.
Like if you're down in like California, LA, Texas, like you're pretty much year round, but up here, let's just say you're going to have plenty of time to make improvements. But that
a lot of potholes.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's see here. So coming in from Friar Dat Baby Fur. So is Anchorage's bus system any good? So I don't know. Do you guys have any experience with the bus system here?
No, but they're definitely running.
Okay, so I'll talk on that. It is there. It's not going to be particularly. It's not going to be like the bus system, like what you're going to find in other big cities. It's going to be very basic. The times are going to be a little limited. If you're trying to get around Alaska with a bus system, you're probably going to be disappointed because it's really not set up for that. So I mean, you can do it, yes. If you really want to experience Alaska, having some kind of a vehicle is going to be the best way to do it.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. So coming in from RH, the motorcycle gang, rides snowmobiles. I don't know. That might be, you might be onto something there.
Yeah.
That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah, actually, you're probably onto something there. So coming in from Big Game, Alaska Someday, can the three of you describe Soldotna?
I cannot.
So have you guys really spent any time in Soldotna or? Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about it. I've not personally lived down there, but I will say that it's, it's an all-American town. I can say that. And it's usually kind of sticks to themselves down there. Most of the housing there is actually owned by people who are looking for vacation homes. So it's for the people who do live there, it's kind of a small, tight-knit kind of a community. It just explodes overnight during the summertime when everybody shows up and they're ready to start doing their Alaska adventures. Also during the dip netting season, for those of you who don't know, dip netting is where you literally have like a 6-foot like net. You walk it down into the stream, and the salmon that are going by on the salmon run like run into it. You flip it over, and you just drag them back to the shore. And there's like zero sport to it whatsoever. This is just straight harvesting with zero qualms whatsoever. And Alaskans can do it after living here for a full year. Oh yeah, that's right. You guys can do that this year, by the way. Yeah. Yeah, you got that to look forward to this year.
Yeah.
Fill up your entire freezer with salmon with like 1 or 2 days of work.
We've been waiting for it.
There you go. Go get your 35 salmon. And but yeah, everyone in Alaska who can do that, a lot of them are going to be converging on Soldotna and Kenai during that time. And so it's going to be kind of crazy down there for a couple of weeks, couple of months. Soldotna, I've actually found, is usually pretty welcoming of everybody because they understand, hey, this is a big part of our local economy. With the people over in Kenai, the town, not so much. not so much. They're kind of just tired that kind of give you the attitude like you're tromping through their flower bed or something when you show up. So that's just been my experience. Might be very limited. I'm probably not being fair to Kenai, but Soldat and I can say just their attitude seems to be a little bit different there. If you're into like snow machining, pretty much anything outdoors during the wintertime, like you're going to fit in just fine there year round. So I hope that answered your question. I might have just gone off on a completely different direction than what you actually needed. Outstanding. So let's get to a couple more questions here. So coming in from Taj Connor, there's a commuter from the Valley, right?
I've seen it. Right, it's over by the hospital, I think. The stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely there. I can't tell you what its route is or the schedule of it either. So that's just something you'd have to look into. But I do know that it's there.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look here with Costa 16 Auto moving to Alaska with a remote job in hands, or would it be better to secure a local job? Okay, so talking about working remotely or securing a local job. I don't know. You guys want to take that one?
Well,
Moving to
yeah. I mean, Jacob, he got a job at a local. He got a local job. It's just there's like where we live in Wasilla, there's not that many.
they're there.
Yeah, but having a remote job, I just see that as like really being a benefit to living in Alaska if you had a remote job.
Yeah, if you had a remote job, I would totally go that way because the commute, depending where you live, is just going to be hard.
Yeah. No. Okay, here's the thing. If you've got a remote job, you're going to have that flexibility. You're going to be able to go everywhere, and that's awesome. And usually we can just go ahead and use that as a way to get you pre-qualified and get you in somewhere, or to get you into an apartment. Either way, the benefit of having a remote job is you have the ability to come up here, live here for a while, and then if you want to get a job up here that's specific to this area, it's a lot easier at that point because you can go to the employer and say, hey, I already live here. I've lived here for about 6 months at this point. Not planning on going anywhere. Made it through the winter, blah, blah, blah. And here's my application. That is going to be a much easier sell than it's going to be if you're just coming in from the lower 48. And it kind of sucks because we have a lot of really qualified people that I've talked to before who cannot get their foot in the door just because employers see that they're coming in from out of state and they've been burned before by people who have said that they're going to move up here. They go through all the training, investing in this person just for them to flake for whatever reason, and the company's just out this money and time. So for that reason, a lot of employers kind of hesitate of just hiring somebody out of state if they can avoid it. But if you can show, hey, I've already lived here, I'm already in the club, then that's going to go a long way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the biggest booming thing I see here is a lot of medical offices being built. So if you're in that field,
you could probably find
something here. But besides that, it's going to be a grocery store or
out here in Wasilla,
a hardware store.
Yeah, I mean, if you have like some hard skills, like you're a mechanic, you're a contractor, something like that, like you're probably never going to be looking too hard for work. In the grand scheme of things. So really quickly from Oliver Wright. Let's see. Yeah, so the last time he was in Anchorage, it was about $60 for a month bus pass. So just kind of a PSA for everybody.
That's not bad.
Coming in from RH, who needs a job when you got all that salmon? Well, you need fuel to cook it. So there's your answer there. So we're going to work through a couple more questions here, folks. This is kind of your final call for any additional questions that you might have for Rick and Jacob about their kind of experience of moving up here and having lived up here for an entire winter. So, if you got those questions, let's get them out here on the table. Let's go and answer just a couple more questions here, and we'll run back to the comment section. So that's kind of your final call there. So, okay, so we already talked about that. So what part of living in Alaska do you guys think is going to take the longest for you guys to adjust to over the long haul? I mean, obviously we're looking at, looking at coming through about an entire year at this point, but there's still going to be some adjustments that will usually take a couple of years. So do you guys have any off the top of your head you think are going to take a little bit longer to adjust to than a year?
I think I'm not sure if anyone actually ever adjusts to this. It's the how long the sun stays out during the summertime and how little it stays out during the wintertime. Just those constant changes, it's pretty clear when we're getting more sunlight, like when the sun starts lasting longer during this time. We're like, oh, it's like 7:30 and the sun's coming out. This is awesome.
Ooh, how fun.
But we look at things differently too. But that I would say would probably be the longest to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's a really big one. I mean, not just the sun like not being there, but also the sun being there all the time during the summertime.
Yeah.
But it's really fun though. Like summertime, we're working out in the garden. We say, oh, we should probably be getting dinner ready. Then we look at our watch and it's 11:30 at night.
Yeah, I think that was the last time we had like some kind of a barbecue, if I recall correctly. Like, and I was like, oh Lordy, it's another day one. Because I mean, yeah, you just don't know. I mean, actually, a lot of my adventures would have ended completely in disaster if it weren't for like the sun being up till like 2 a.m. Like that has really bailed me out. Most of my adventures would not work out in a real people environment.
I think for mine, the longest thing to adjust to is we moved up here partially to be able to sustain our own life, like a homesteader type of deal. And we found out that it's going to take a long time to get homesteading down to a precise of every year we're prepared in every single way.
Yeah.
Because we haven't even came close to what I thought we were going to have done from last year.
Yep. Good. Absolutely. All right. So let's work through. We'll not work through. Let's go and answer a couple more of these questions here. And we'll go ahead and finish up with any final thoughts after that. So coming in, the wolf and the bee, would moving right before winter be most ideal as things are calmer and slower and easier to settle?
Yes.
I would say yes, but every year winter starts at a different time. And if you're planning when it's close to that winter time up here, you just can get those unexpected, all of a sudden winter storm that just happens. And I mean, I guess that's any point of the winter. So maybe you have a better chance at the beginning of winter like that. It's a good thought. It's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I love it in theory. I love it in thought. But yeah, the question is like just in the execution. If you can, and the other thing to keep in mind too, in Alaska, it is going to usually take about 45 to 60 days to actually close after we get it under contract. So yeah, if you're looking at closing around October timeframe, you're probably looking around July that we want to get it under contract. So that's also kind of important just for a timeline perspective. But I mean, I am all for moving during the winter time or, just before, just so you have that the summer months are free to actually enjoy Alaska. Because if you don't, like the first year is going to feel off for you because the whole reason people move up here is they want to enjoy the summer. Usually, there are some freaks out there that just love the winter.
Well,
And,
that was us.
that's you guys. Okay. No, got to know what kind of people I'm talking to. So there's some people that really love the winter. Most people, really love the summer months. You know who you are, and just kind of plan accordingly. And for a lot of people, they'll get up here, they'll work super hard during the summertime. They look up, it's gone, and it's winter. So their first year just kind of feels like a throwaway.
It really did for us. It just happened so fast. It's like, did we really accomplish anything? We were just trying to get ourselves set up,
Yeah, absolutely. So coming in from Big Game Alaska Someday, what seems to be the largest concern the residents of Anchorage have with I'm not sure what that word is, with the city and federal government. Okay, so the biggest issue that they have with the city and local government.
I heard ads about snow removal this year just wasn't as good in Anchorage.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all I know.
I'm trying to step carefully. I do know quite a bit about politics in Anchorage, and I don't necessarily want to go into it because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Really the big thing that a lot of politics in Anchorage kind of focuses around is it's a very, for the most part, Republican, red, conservative kind of an electorate, and yet usually very liberal people end up getting elected there. So it's kind of this weird dynamic going on, and it's kind of tough to kind of parse through. And whenever we do get some kind of a Republican or conservative mayor elected, then it's just a game of keeping them distracted as much as possible with trying to recall them for some reason. And sometimes that's justified. Watch the news. There's definitely some stuff going on there. But yes, the snow removal is a really big one. They kind of had a heavy-handed policy for a while there about plastic bags, where I guess that's still where we're at, where they just kind of like eliminated all plastic bags. And that kind of just is what it is. Another big issue that's out there, I'm not sure how front and center it is right at the moment, but is Eagle Exit, where they're talking about Eagle River breaking away from Anchorage and forming their own town. I'll let history decide if that's going to be something that's really prevalent and something that's actually going to happen. But that is something that's something that's kind of rattling around right now. So hope I answered your question. I feel like I just kind of rambled around there for a bit. So I hope that answered everyone's question and didn't bore everybody too much. All right, coming in from Costa 16 Auto. What about moving to Tuk? Do you guys have any, besides driving through there, do you guys have any experience? Because I certainly don't.
No.
It was small, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like if you love like outdoor activities, like if you want a four-wheeler or a snow machine and you just want to just play outside all the time, that's a perfect place. That's what it looked like, at least.
Like if you want your snow machine to be your regular car, I feel like Tuk is a good place for that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, it's kind of a completely different lifestyle up that way.
Yeah, it seems more of like a Alaskan heritage. Big chunk lives there.
Yep, absolutely. All right, from Friar Dat Baby Fur. Do I get the extra tufts before I move into Alaska or after? Yeah, I'd say after. And for those of you who don't know, the extra tufts are just like almost like the big rain boots. I've not really seen them anywhere else except here in Alaska, but they're fairly warm. And yeah, it's kind kind of the Alaska starter pack is really what it is. All right, from Carly Chapman, what additional expenses do you run into that you were not expecting when moving to Alaska? What things would you recommend buying in the lower 48 and bringing? What things are better to buy in Alaska?
Oh, so one of our additional expenses after move, did you run into? You were not expecting. Okay, so the house we bought, it doesn't have mail service. So we actually have to pay for a company to go pick up our mail and bring it to our mailbox that's near our house, just so we can get regular mail service. That was something we were not expecting at all.
The cost of internet.
Cost of internet is much
You
higher.
won't pay nothing less than $150. I'll tell you that.
That's what it feels like. What would we recommend buying in the lower 48 and bringing? An additional car, like no joke.
If you can bring machinery up, I would.
A trailer. People are always looking to buy trailers up here. So you could use the trailer to bring everything up here, and then you can sell it to somebody if you don't need it anymore. But I would say you'd probably need your trailer later too. A lot of people use trailers.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually talked with a number of people who were, successfully brought all their stuff up on the trailer, and then they actually sold their trailer for more than they bought it for down the lower 48.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you can pull it off, great.
Yeah.
And all power to you.
Yeah, and if you wanted a specific type of furniture or something, and you can bring it up here, I'd bring it up here.
Yeah.
Not a lot of options.
Yeah, that's you kind of got all the fish in the barrel at that point. All right, a couple more questions here, folks, and then we're going to be wrapping it up. So from Richard Servatius, climate change from Haines, 30 miles north towards Fairbanks, ? Okay, so the question, climate change. I don't have any stats right here in front of me. Anecdotally, I can say that yes, the climate is changing, and that we do know. Winters here are becoming more mild, with the exception of this last one that felt like it was pretty rude and kind of just came out of left field. It feels like sometimes. Not not this used to be like the normal winter, like what we have now, and it's just not really the case. I would say it definitely is more mild than it used to be, even from 10, 15 years ago. Maybe I'm just remembering that as a kid, but yeah, I mean, I can anecdotally say that there definitely are changes going on, and not gonna lie, it's kind of a welcome change here in Alaska, because if it does become more mild, then Alaska actually stands to gain a lot, because then our growing season increases and a lot of land suddenly becomes very usable. And there's kind of long-term thinkers and geologists and everyone else looking at how to expend resources moving forward. There's a lot of people who say that Alaska could become the breadbasket of the U.S. if the climate continues to change the way it is. So yeah, Alaskans are not necessarily opposed to climate change.
Yeah.
But yeah, not that I speak for everybody, nor am I advocating, trying to create climate change. So that could turn into a bad soundbite later. All right, Nature Scoper. What is rent like in the Matsu Valley? How do you find rentals? So you guys didn't really mess around with rentals when you came up here. I'll speak a little bit to that though. Mostly you're going to be finding apartments in the Matsu Valley, but whether it's an apartment or a house, it's still going to be pretty slim pickings. So going into the Facebook groups is going to be the first place I would personally go. See if you can find something. You can look online and find companies. Usually it's going to be some property with Widener. Widener Properties. So just go look that up. Weidner. They're the biggest company here in the area. They've got a couple larger properties and assets out here you can go check out. And they usually have something available. If you're looking for someone that's just directly with the landlord, you definitely want to go check out the Facebook groups. Another option is to go check out the Airbnb app and see what you can find. Now, what you're looking for the runts of the litter. Okay, you're looking for someone where they only have like one review, the photos are bad, and it's just kind of a hit or miss kind of a property. It looks like it hasn't gotten much action. Sometimes if you approach the owners there and just say, hey, are you interested in having someone go in there and do a long-term lease? Well, there's a good chance they might just be hemorrhaging money, and just stopping the bleed might actually be appealing to them. So if you can find something that's got some people that can just move in there, then that's going to be a great option for you. All right, folks, we've got one more question here. Forrest Hernandez. So moving to Seward, starting work at the local Providence Seward Mountain Haven. Any advice on being what to be prepared for? Do you guys want to talk about Seward a little bit, and then I'll do the roundhouse?
I mean, I love Seward. Seward was great. It's definitely a fishing town. I don't know. We just really liked it, but there wasn't much there. That's all that we really know.
Yeah. So the thing is with Seward, they have really gone through a lot of work over the years to maintain kind of their small town atmosphere, which they accomplished. It remains a pretty small town, but the problem is the affordability for the housing has just shot through the roof, because what we have is a lot of tourists that go through there. The few houses that are available, a lot of the owners are just converting them over to Airbnbs because they can make just oodles and oodles of money over like a single 3-4 month period. And so why wouldn't you turn your property into an Airbnb? But the problem is that what that does is that does create a scarcity, even a greater scarcity of houses in the area. And that is kind of a hot button topic there. I know Seward is starting to crack down on Airbnbs and trying to make it more challenging. I am not willing to lay the housing shortage solely on the shoulders of property owners that are just trying to convert their properties over to Airbnb, though, because the city council has also failed miserably for decades to encourage any kind of building, and that's been a much bigger impact for the housing situation down in Seward, more so than anywhere else. And I mean, I've actually been told that a lot of the council members for the city are like with the hotels, which makes sense. And so that's kind of creates a little bit of a bias for them suddenly cracking down on Airbnbs. So there's a lot of kind of back and forth, and I'm sure you're going to live there yourself here in the near future. You're probably going to be able to tell me more than anything else, but that's kind of my impression of kind of talking with people who've lived there and other people who have, trying to purchase properties down there. So it can be pretty challenging to find housing just for that reason. Absolutely beautiful town. If you've seen pictures, they don't do it justice. I've got like some 360, videos up on the YouTube channel, just looking specifically at Seward, because it is just so beautiful. I used to go up there like once every couple months, just kind of relax a little bit, and that was kind of the little safe haven. And you've got the mountains, you've got the ocean, you've got glaciers, you got all that stuff right there, and it's kind of a no-brainer that people would want to move there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all comes down to the housing and how much, if the council and the local government can successfully encourage building in the area, but do so at a rate that's not going to lose the entire character of the small town. There's a balance to be made there. I just don't think the balance has really been attempted thus far, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It just makes everything so hard because we're all connected by one road, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, that's really it. They've got one road going. I guess they've got the ocean, so they do have that going for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. Any final thoughts, guys, you would like to talk about? Anything we didn't cover that you think people should be aware of as they're considering making this happen?
Just consider all the aspects of what the weather can do to your home here. Because definitely didn't think about that as much as I think we should have, as far as rain and snow and how much it affects our house, because it's affected our house a lot.
But we would totally do this all over again. We love it. I mean, we love extreme weather or extreme changes in our lives. So moving up here was like what do you 180 from what we were living, and we absolutely love it, and we embrace every moment of it. We embrace the cold, but you just got to get the right equipment for the right time of the year. Have a nice jacket for the winter time, and we go outside and we can spend hours outside, even though the only time I say it's cold, like when it actually hits like the negatives. I just feel like it's not that cold before. So
you guys have acclimated very well.
But we bought outdoor heaters. So if we just want to stand outside at night, we can turn the outdoor heater on and we just enjoy everything that's around us.
Yeah, you don't have to sit indoors all winter.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Jacob and Rick, thank you very much for jumping on here and sharing your experience. I love having you guys right down the road. So, thanks for jumping in here and helping other people that are thinking about doing the same thing and kind of sharing your insights in the area. For those of you who are who do have more questions, certainly do feel free to reach out. Be more than happy to help as best I can. But I think we're all done here, guys. Sorry, I am really dragging right now from I think running the lazy mountain yesterday really is coming back to bite me. That 3,000 feet climb in less than 2 miles really gets you.
In the winter.
So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks, Jamin.
Thanks.